Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of 5 Albums I Can't Live Without, 70s Rock Edition. So these albums, in my opinion, they're all perfect albums. They're my go-to albums from start to finish. There's no bad songs on these. You can just really sink your teeth into them, all making them albums I can't live without. But before we dive into it, if you are new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this, with 5 albums I can't live without, 70s Rock Edition. All right, so kicking things off, and in no particular order, Boston's self-titled release from 1976 debut studio album. And you know, it's one of the finest recorded and produced albums ever, in my opinion, not just in rock. Cool thing is, it was actually the original demos that they just embellished and enhanced a bit in the studio. Guitarist Tom Scholz, for that reason alone, I think is a studio genius for what he was able to do. It's a perfect example of that layered effect that they will do in the studio, to be used to greater effect by later bands like Def Leppard, especially on Hysteria. So this was something that was really quite groundbreaking at the time. Features some stunning songs on it, More Than a Feeling, one of their best known songs, definitely, but it's got a beautiful intro that just soars right into one of the greatest 70s rock songs ever, Peace of Mind, which is a perfect example of their melding of the acoustic and electric instrumentation. It's got some fantastic riffing from Tom Scholz on it. And then Foreplay, Long Time, that instrumental intro with the organ is just outstanding in my opinion. You can't get better than that, and I love the huge drum sound that's on it, which leads me to the next part that I want to talk about, which is the overall sound of the album itself. So I mentioned that idea, that the mix of the electric and acoustic instrumentation, they do that throughout on this. I always thought that was one of the standout things for this album. It's got huge soaring vocals, big guitars to match, powerful rock and AOR masterpiece, all making this an album that I can't live without. All right, coming in, the next one here, we've got Van Halen, #2, second studio album from the band. This one here, from the slow build of the first track on it, You're No Good, into the elevated highs of the second track, Dance the Night Away, to the party sounds of Somebody Get Me a Doctor. This album continues to build all the way through on it. And for me at least, it's just pure Van Halen. It's everything I love about them, all mixed in on one album right here. It's also got some great tracks like DOA, Women in Love, Beautiful Girls, no shortage of classic songs on this album here, all making it why this is an album I can't live without. Next up, we've got AC/DC Powerage from 1978, fourth studio album, internationally at least. In Australia, they released a couple different titled ones right off the bat, so throws things off there. But internationally and here in the US, fourth studio album. Features Bon Scott on vocals here. Also the first album to feature new bassist Cliff Williams in the lineup. And now most of the songs here are the lesser known hits. If you guys have watched other videos, you know me, then you know that I tend to lean towards albums that have the lesser known hits, that aren't worn out by the big hits, meaning the radio that's worn them out and things of that nature. But in terms of that, this album is solid from start to finish. So some of you guys have also asked, you know, what's a great album that's got a lot of good deep cuts? This is one of them here. All killer, no filler, as they say. But it also laid the foundation for a lot of killer songs that would come later on down the road. For example, the song Down Payment Blues, that's got a real killer groove to it, and it would be recycled to great effect though on later albums, and I don't mean that as any slight to it. AC/DC has really mastered the effect of repeating the style of a song without actually repeating the song. They do this amazingly. But you've got some excellent dirty rockers on this one too. There's some minor hits, Rock and Roll, Damnation, Riff Raff, Sin City, all making this an album that I can't live without. All right, next one up here goes to Pink Floyd, Animals from 1977, 10th studio album from the band. It was a concept album, at least loosely, based on George Orwell's political fable Animal Farm, a book, and it was also focusing on the social political conditions of the day. So all those things mixed together to create a pretty interesting idea for the album. Features 5 tracks, but track 1 and 5 on here, the song Pigs on the Wing, it's really the same track. It's just been split to bookend the album, and so it kind of acts as an intro and an outro to the album itself. But interestingly, when they did the 8-track version for the album itself, because in 8-track loops, they didn't want to have the song, that intro and outro, being back to back on it when the album would loop. So Roger Waters decided to take that, put both pieces together on it, and turn it into one song. And they actually added a guitar solo to it, so they call this an extended version of it. But Snowy White actually plays the guitar solo. It's not David Gilmour on it. They were already done in the studio. I believe he had left, and so he brought in Snowy White, who does a fantastic version of this here. And so I wanted to show this real quick. There is a bootleg. This is a bootleg version of it that takes that 8-track version. They remaster it and get excellent quality out of it. And so you get that song right here at the top. So it only lists 4 songs. So you can find that version out there and enjoy it. But I hope that with a remastered version of the Animals album that has been announced, they are going to do this, that when we finally get it, we will get it with some bonus material, including that take of the song. But for me at least, it's the 3 songs in the middle of this, the meat and potatoes of the album, the thing you can really sink your teeth into, is these long form compositions. You know, what they had started on Wish You Were Here and some of the earlier things, they've continued to great effect. And you've got the song Dogs, that's a 17-minute song. Pigs, 3 different ones, that's 11 minutes. And Sheep, 10 minutes. So you've got these really long compositions right in the middle of it that really allow you to invest into the songs itself. And so because these songs are more experimental with each track, and you know, Pink Floyd is a pretty complex band when it comes to song structures and things of that nature. So I'm not looking for the 3-minute pop song from Pink Floyd, although they do it really well. This here allows me to sink my teeth into it because they've got those longer songs. So I really, really enjoy this album and getting to immerse myself within it here, all making this an album that I can't live without. All right, and the final album of the 5 albums I can't live without, 70's Rock Edition, goes to Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti from 1975, 6th studio album from the band. So for this one here, pretty interesting. They recorded 8 new songs for it. But when they added up the time, it amounted to 3 sides of an LP. So they decided to add in 7 previously unreleased songs and turn this into a double album. And it's a real tour de force in terms of styles throughout the album. They've got standard rock, hard rock, progressive rock, orchestral rock, and even folk music mixed throughout on this album here. In my opinion, the band was just at their creative peak on this album here. And case in point, songs like Custard Pie, that was a newly written song for 74. Then you've got The Rover, which I think is one of Jimmy Page, you know, the guitar player for the band, most underrated guitar lines. Is originally recorded for Houses of the Holy. And then they added in some new guitar parts to it for 1974, or in 1974, for the inclusion on this album. You've got Kashmir, which is, you know, one of their progressive rock masterpieces, became a concert staple, now one of their most iconic songs that's been sampled so many times. You've got Down by the Seaside. That was an outtake from Led Zeppelin 4. It just starts beautifully. Then there's this middle breakdown part in it where it gets you know, a bit of a rockin' section and then returns for a mellow end on it. Song that is both simple and complex at the same time. And I think that's you know, both a way to describe this, but also a way that is you know, an understatement to a band that is such a caliber to the way that they are here, all making this an album that I can't live without. And so there you go, 5 albums I can't live without, the 70's Rock Edition. Don't forget to check the description for links to related videos. In particular, I'll put links to the first two editions of or episodes from this. There was a Desert Islands pick, and the last one being Heavy Metal Edition. And so I'll also include in this the Van Halen album ranking if you want to check that out. And then certainly if you've enjoyed this video, please share it out on social media. Help spread the word that way. I would also really appreciate that. All right, everyone, have a great day. Take care, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye, everyone.